Hello, everyone. Welcome to a Podcast, episode 37. Today, we will be recapping the unfortunate homecoming loss to Bowling Green, uh, discuss the very ugly points of that game as best we can with some absent hosts today, along with, of course, previewing our return to Big Ten play against the Purdue Boilermakers. Today, we only have two hosts. I'm one of them. I'm Jason, and the other is Griffin. Say hi, Griff.
Hello, everybody.
Again, welcome to our podcast, and it's not going to be a very fun podcast today, everyone. It's going to be a lot of criticism, and there's a lot of pain points to discuss. So just to quickly recap, Griffin and I were not at the game. We tried our best to watch during that day, but unfortunately, the Gophers fell 10-14 to Bowling Green. We were favored by 30 and a half to win this game, and they literally just upset us. To be quite honest, I think they were the better team on offense. Of course, their defense was pretty stellar. Special team was aight. Besides them missing a kick or a field goal, but other than that, Bowling Green showed up to play and they trounced us. And I think that we had to pay them like 1 point something million for losing.
That's the worst part about it. I think we had to pay him $1.4 million for that ugly, ugly loss.
Oh, God, where do we start? I'll start off with the pain point. Our offense could not get a rhythm. Tanner Morgan was only 5 for 13 passing, with 59 yards, no touchdowns, with 2 interceptions, and he had a QBR rating of 5.1. Um,
Ooh,
and to make it a little bit more worse, you look at our receiving core. Daniel Jackson only had one reception for 25 yards. Our lead receiver. Next best was our boy Brevin Span 4. I was happy that he was getting some catches in there, but only two receptions for 23 yards.
The Capital
Um,
One Saver Card. You earn
and then behind that, Chris Abenbell only had one catch for 9 yards before leaving the game in the second half with injury. And then Trey Potts with one reception for 2 yards. So wide receiver core only totaled that 59 yards, which wasn't great. Um, and I'd say maybe a bright spot. Trey Potts was our lead rusher. 27 carries, 141 yards. But then, Griff, you and I talked about like a name that I was excited about, Bucko Irvin or Marquise Irvin, um, was was reduced to like freaking 4 carries on 8 yards. Like, you want to know who are the two others between Trey?
ooh.
Cole Kramer, 2 carries for 22 yards, and Tanner Morgan for 10 carries on 10 yards when he had to scramble out of the pocket.
I mean, I look at this game as it was essentially Minnesota's rushing offense versus Bowling Green's passing offense. I mean, you look at the yardage, it's pretty close. You look at the score, it's pretty close. Minnesota's passing was ugly. Bowling Green's rushing was ugly. I mean, this we should have dominated in literally every single facet of the game, and yet here we are. Um,
Yeah.
the, I kind of mentioned it last week, and I still kind of believe it to be true, but I don't think they want to put that much on tape for Big Ten teams because this was not a normal Gopher team.
No.
This, you know they have more talent than this on offense and defense. They were just running some vanilla play calls and hoping that it would get the job done. And then when they knew it probably wasn't going to get the job done, here here they are at the end of the game, not really trying to call anything too crazy and just praying it kind of pulls out a win.
Yeah. What makes it worse too, we lost a turnover differential in this game against them. They had two turnovers and we had three. Just to note, the two turnovers from Bowling Green. First of all, they had a early interception in the first quarter by Mariano Soriamarin. That was a perfect play set up by the defense. Like Joe Rossi has been doing good things with our defense for the last few years. Um, Picked them up, and then we recovered a fumble from Bowling Green's Tyrone Broden during the game as well. Who that was one of the running backs. Oh no, one of the receivers during the game. So our defense did, I'd say, pretty well. Like again, I'll read the stat sheet here quickly here. Uh, Mariano Sori-Marin was our lead defensive player stats wise at 8 total tackles, with 5 solo. Uh, Behind that, Jack Gibbons, Niles Pickney, Coney Durr, Jordan Howden, Boye Mafe, Thomas Rush, uh, Trill Carter, Braylon Oliver, Tyler Newbin, Justice Harris, T Time, Micah Dutrewe. Like Laurent said it on our group chat. The defense did not lose us this game. Like our defense played a solid game. And that one touchdown was when we tried to go for it on 4th down and gave our defense a short field. Um, so in all technicality, I would say our defense only gave up that one touchdown in that 3rd quarter. If I had to play that, but unfortunately they gave we lost 2 touchdowns on that. But our defense played a great game. Like especially like we were rotating guys in. We had fresh bodies. We try to force their offense not to move laterally, so that's why they had a poor rushing game, and we forced them to beat us in the pass. And I think that was what our defense did pretty well. In special teams, Mark Crawford had a solid game as well, which I think that will sort of make Wyatt happy. Around 38.6 yards average, but that was key since we were more towards the 30, 40 yard lines during those possessions. Unfortunately, Matthew Trickett was only 1 for 2 for field goals, 1 from 50 yards out. No, 36 yards, my bad. That was made, and then 1 for 1 on extra points. So again, special teams did all right, especially that fumble. Oh my God, I saw that play and I was like pulling my hair out. We should have lost. Like I seen that play, I was like, we should have lost that game. But no, but overall, my thought is special teams didn't lose this game. Like they tried, they did their best despite missing a field goal and that fumble there. Defense played a solid game. It wasn't their fault that we lost. I think in the end, it was offense that we got stunted. And to quote Eli or Soup from last podcast, uh, hashtag fire Mike Sanford was what he said. Um, but yeah, that's all I have to say. It was an ugly game. Offense did not produce, and in that result, we lost the game, and that's the result.
And that ends the 21 game. Was it 21 or 22 non-conference streak?
I think it's 21 or 22.
I think it's 21, and that hurts because it's a
Now,
game you have to win.
now Iowa leads that record.
It's all right. They won't keep it. We'll still have the record. They'll end up losing sometime. They'll go to a bowl game and lose just like normal.
Yeah. No, so let's have some discussion points. How much were you able to see from the game? Either be highlights or during the game. Like what did you see that you did not like?
Oh my God. For me, I look at Tanner Morgan. I did not like Tanner Morgan. That's not the Tanner Morgan we know. I mean, the Tanner Morgan we know will take. He's cautious, but he'll take some risks. I just really wish I saw more like play-by-play games because all I'm looking at here are some of the highlights. Tanner Morgan just doesn't look confident, and is it that we really want the run that bad, or is that they just don't trust Tanner Morgan? Like which in my head, like I could see either one. It's like they just want the run. They just want to beat down the defensive line in the run game, or they really just don't think Tanner Morgan has what it takes to run their offense. I don't know. Um, but Mike Sanford was supposed to be our savior. He was supposed to be the one to come in and give us some creative plays from Utah State University, and we have seen nothing but pretty much bland play calling. Like even like the Jerry Kill, Tracy Clay's era, you saw some motion. Like it didn't have to be anything fancy, but just something to try and throw the defense off.
Mhm.
But everything we have is just predictable, and it's either going to be a handoff to Bucky or a handoff to Potts. Like there's no end arounds. Like I don't see a lot of jet sweeps. I don't see a lot of wheel routes. Maybe I just missed them because I didn't get to see the entire part of the game here. But
No,
um,
I
but Bowling
watched.
Green's defense isn't impressive either. Like it's not.
Yeah. So I watched the entire first half. We were very vanilla. Um, maybe uh Tanner, because like, so one of the catches was to Brevin on a screen, like essentially a screen pass. Essentially, Tanner dumped it to Brevin because no one was open and got the first down, running down the sideline for a few more yards. But there was none of that. Like it makes me miss the offense that Kirk Shiraka had in place from 17 and 19. Yes, we're still going to run the ball. That is our mojo for this offense, but it's through the RPOs. You know, I know in 17 we don't want to be reminded these guys, but Connor Rhoda and Demery Croft was able, thanks to the RPOs, get an easy play and throw the ball to a receiver or a running back just to at least get some yards or hand the ball off. Like that's how I think our offense meshed, and I think that was perfect for a Zach Anixted or a Tanner Morgan in 18, and of course in 19 when we went 11-2. Um, I just missed that, but also what Kirk Schracker also did was those plays that you like, Griff. So like remember early in the 2019 season we had the Philly where Tanner Warren caught a touchdown or caught the 2-point conversion in the game. That was like great. Um, the Wildcat, of course, that was a package primarily made for Seth Green, but I sort of missed the Wildcat. Getting a big tight end or a running back or receiver to take a direct snap. Um, Seth Green being the Wildcat rather than running it, throwing the ball a couple times too.
And then maybe it's me, but have you seen any of the tunnel screens? Because I remember running one of our first touchdowns to Chris Bell during the Penn State game was a tunnel screen that went for like 30 some yards. Like where was that? Is it just because we had Bateman and Tyler as like good blocking receivers that they were able to make that happen? Like do they not just want to run that play anymore? Is it just I've seen them run a couple screens, but they kind of don't turn out to be anything because we don't do it enough, and I think it's obvious when they know we're going to do it and
Yeah,
try and run that play. I every, I mean, to me, when I look at the stat sheet here, all I can think of is every set of downs it was run run pass. Am I wrong?
you're not wrong. That was pretty much what happened in the first half, and then the only exception was that one drive in the third quarter where Tanner was in most of the time, but then you had Cole Kramer on a couple snaps where he was like that energy booster that we needed, and unfortunately we didn't see that for the rest of the game.
You
and that,
need the energy booster because Cole Kramer will have the defense spread out. When it's Tanner Morgan, you have 8 people in the box and everything else is man to man, and we still try and run it, and we get 1 or 0 yards.
yeah,
Uh, Cole Kramer will make they have to have the defense spread out, and then you saw what he did. He ran for a 19-yard touchdown.
yeah. Hey, I do want to note this, and you and I talked about this off air. Kirk Shiraka is only an offensive analyst for the West Virginia Mountaineers. So, PJ, if you do decide to fire Mike Sanford per Soup's advice, your boy, Kirk, Cookie Boy, you might want to bring him back. Just saying.
But now it's does he want to come back?
Or,
Because I know Kirk has family out in Pennsylvania, so he might want to stay close.
True. Or what we should have done from the get-go, we should have had Matt Simon be the OC from the first place because he called a great game against Auburn. Like, I think he's like the Kirk Schrocker 2.0 when I saw him like mid-play calls. I'm like, oh man, we were keeping you as just a position coach this entire time, and then I don't know. I have to agree with Soup that I don't think Mike Sanford's offense is what we want it to be. And I was reading the Daily Gopher from SB Nation. A lot of them say like, of course, the quarterbacks suck, like regular bloggers on there. But if you look at the authors that makes the articles and blog posts, a lot of them do blame Sanford's offense, which you don't see from like the Kirk Schrocker, Matt Simon uh, type. So uh, I'm if I'm being honest, Griffin, I'm seeing a Rob Smith situation. Because remember, we had a Mike Sanford joined us for his first season last year, and we all took it as like, oh, growing pains because it's COVID. We got players out with COVID-19 or protocol that like the offense being vanilla in in those situations. We're like, oh, it's just COVID. We'll be fine next season. Now I'm concerned like those same things that we saw from last season, I see again this season, and
And I just think the players that PJ is recruiting, the ones he wants to recruit, um, they're so athletic. Like you have the Dalen Wrights and Brady Boyd and Daniel Jackson, all these all these men that can be great receivers, but they're not getting the targets. They're not getting the reps. Like these men are made to catch are are here to catch the football. Like I can appreciate pounding the rock like 9 out of 10 days of the week, but you got to give these men their targets, their completions, uh, and their reps. Because I mean, PJ is supposed to develop these men. I don't know if we're ever going to have a Rashad Bateman.
yeah, but
Emerge from this group of young receivers.
yeah, yeah. I think that's all I have to say. I'm just very bitter how that game ended.
I I'm honestly glad I was not fully watching it, but I also know that you know you can't necessarily stay on things for too long, so we should probably just look forward to Purdue here and see what we have.
Yeah. So on to the next game. So the Gophers returned to Big Ten play. We started our home opener and season opener against the Ohio State Buckeyes. So we'll be going up against the Purdue Boilermakers. They're currently 3-1 for the season, 1-0 in conference play so far. In their last 4 games to start the season, they defeated Oregon State 30-21. They defeated UConn 49-0. They lost to currently the number 12 ranked Notre Dame Fighting Irish, 13-27. And then to open Big Ten play, they defeated the Illini 13-9. To look at some quick stats, their lead passer at quarterback is Jack Plummer, uh, who has 82 completions out of 118 attempts, 840 yards passing the season. He has a freaking 69.5% completion, so nice. Um, with a quarterback rating this season average at 148.9. I'm not sure if he went down the last game or two, but Aiden O'Connell has played a fair bit. 32 completions of 48 attempts, 372 yards, having 66.7%, 66.7% completion percentage. Also has a high QBR at 135.7. And of course, their lead rusher, Dylan Downing, has 33 carries for 131 yards, so 4 yards per carry average. And of course, their lead receiver and a Big Ten top 5 receiver is David Bell, had 21 receptions on 319 yards and 3 touchdowns so far this season. And they're bringing back, they're still bringing back a solid defense over there too. So, and right now, according to the FPI, their favorite, Griff, 70.5% chance to beat us in West Lafayette. And the money line is uh, Gophers plus 2.5 with an over under at 47.5.
So I think one thing that we have to potentially look forward to, but I'd rather play against him. But David Bell is currently questionable to play this Sunday. He entered concussion protocol, I think, about a week ago. So I would rather play against him because he is great talent, and I want to beat them when Purdue is at their best. But it would also be nice to not have to guard him because he could absolutely torch our defense.
Yeah,
If I remember correctly, in 2019, when the last time the Gophers went to West Lafayette, I believe he did go down, right?
that was
With
Rondale,
a
man. That was
that was
Rondale.
Rondale. That was Rondale. Never mind. But then, what was it? I think was it Jack or Aiden O'Connell was in, and then they went down, and the other one finished. I think it was Aiden,
No, Jack
and then
Plummer.
Jack Plummer went down.
Jack Plummer
Okay.
and Rondale Moore both went down in the first half, and Aiden O'Connell and David Bell pretty much almost scorched our defense that day to win by a possession.
And I honestly don't think Purdue's defense is maybe as good as you may have alluded to, Jason. That's just
Really?
my opinion. Um, I think this is going to be kind of an unpopular opinion here, but Minnesota, I think, is going to be a bad matchup for Purdue. Yes, what happened last week was absolutely horrifying, but I think Purdue 3-1. Credit to them. But I think they are still a little bit overrated. Um, I think our offensive line can handle their defensive line, and I mean, I guess I'm not sure about how much their pass defense has improved, but if it's anything like 2 years ago, the slants were wide open. Crab had his share of house calls. Bateman had his share of house calls. We had crossing routes. We could stretch the field uh, at all times. We always had some sort of play.
Yeah.
We absolutely dominated time of possession. We had a run game that complemented the pass game and vice versa. I mean, other than our defense in the fourth quarter of that game, where we let them score about 21 points in a span of like 8 minutes, I think at least I know Minnesota's offense can handle them. And we'll just see what Minnesota team shows up.
Yeah, because so this is some of their total team stats here, Griffin. So yards allowed by their defense and our offense. So our defense has allowed 272.8 yards average this season. Currently 195.8 passing and 77 yards rushing. And if we look at Purdue, they've gave up a total of 301 yards, 176.8 on passing, and 124.2 in rushing. So I think I may have alluded to maybe this defense party as being good. I see your point that they do have their weaknesses. It's just I want to see a better team this Saturday go up against another good team. Like I'm thinking this is going to be a close game, like in years past, Griffin against Purdue, where this is going to have to be a slug out. Like we win by one possession or less kind of game. Because remember we beat Purdue last year at home during COVID season. I know some people were still mad about, the Purdue fans still mad about that no flag being called.
LeBron would love to fight you on that call, though.
I know. Hey, we won the game. I'll take it. As long as we won the game, and then of course the year before that we won by like 7 points too. So I think in the end, both teams are going to duke it out. And one of the teams that capitalize on his mistakes and is the better coach team overall will win.
If
And I'm
that, if
hoping,
that doesn't if that doesn't describe Big Ten football, then I don't know what does.
yeah. So, yeah. You want to head to predictions then?
Oh, this is gonna be good.
Because you and I have Purdue as a win on our thing, so we gotta honor that. I'll go first then. I'm gonna take uh the 3-point game, and we are going to win another slugfest. And Matt Trickett has to kick us the game-winning field goal, 31-28.
So you're saying we have to honor that? Can I give? Which is fine, but I want to give a prediction for both.
Sure thing.
Okay. So if I have to honor it, because just like I look at it now as PJ got into the film session on Monday or yeah, probably Monday, and just tore everyone a new one. he
You've
quite
been in the
literally
facilities, you know.
he he probably lit a match and then had a fire start under your bosom. Like this week that they are going to be flying out the gates. Anyway, let's start with the Purdue win. I'm going to go with. Oh man, I don't know. Let's go 27-17 Purdue on that side of the ball. But
So Purdue wins 27-17.
correct.
Okay.
And then just because I'm an optimistic Gophers fan
Yep.
by
As you are.
nature. Oh God, seeing Trey Potts is going to be an animal, and I think I'm going to have to put probably 250 rushing yards on the offense, maybe 150 on the receiving end, and let's go Purdue 10, Gophers 38. You laugh, Jason, but we'll never know what Gopher team shows up. Let's be honest, man.
True. You're right. You're right. You're right. We shall see. We shall see. Um, well, Wyatt says we're a win, nothing from soup. So, yeah, hopefully we get the win. And after that, just a look ahead to all of our fans. We are going to be at a bye week. So, so just to forewarn our fans before we wrap up the podcast and go into some more takes. No podcast next week, since it is going to be a bye. Um, so it'll give myself, Griffin, maybe Laron's, Wyatt, and Soup some extra time off, and do other things. But
Still grieving. Still grieving.
yeah, so no, yeah, more time to grieve and reflect. But no podcast next week on October the 6th, 7th dates coming up. But we will return the week after that. But from there, we wrapped up our predictions and preview against the Purdue or Purdue Boilermakers. Eat up the choo-choos. Um, any takes, Griff?
Any just hot and spicy takes in general?
Any hot, spicy takes or anything that you like from college football or NFL football? Yo, I forgot to ask, did Notre Dame beat Wisconsin last week?
Oh yeah, they did.
Oh,
Yes, they did. It was pretty close. Um,
41-13?
right, but the score does not accurately reflect how the game was played. It was pretty close if you look at like the quarter by quarter scoring until kind of the end when Notre Dame had a couple takeaways and then just capitalized.
Graham Mertz,
Right,
4 INTs.
correct, and that is Jason. That was where my spicy take was going to come in, was with Graham Mertz. Um, I don't think next year for sure he's not going to be Wisconsin's starter. I think they're
Ooh.
going to look to move on from him. I mean, he threw his first touchdown pass in that Notre Dame game. Um, for the first time since I think like November of last year. Like he hadn't
Oh,
thrown a physical touchdown pass for that long. And if you're a 5-star college recruit and you're a quarterback and you're going to play at Wisconsin, you need to throw touchdowns just as much as you need to run for touchdowns. And with as athletic as Graham Mertz is, that's not up to Wisconsin standards. So
also,
my take,
was he supposed to be like the Lord and Savior of the quarterback that they need, like a Russell Wilson, and they literally benched Jack Cohn. He then transferred to Notre Dame and is
and
producing
and
for
that is
said
what I
team.
absolutely love to see is Jack Cohn's. This was Cohn's revenge game. He's gonna say, you know what, like f you, Paul Christ, and all that. Like, I mean, the dude is big. He can't run like Mertz can, but the dude could throw a ball.
And
He was
he's a pretty smart guy too. Like he's a like football IQ was really good. Like I know in the past, like you and I, Wyatt and Laurence would like, crap about him, but as because he is a Wisconsin quarterback. But overall, like I will say it too, Alex Hornibrook was also a decent quarterback. They couldn't get over the hump with him, unfortunately, but Hornibrook and Cone weren't bad by any means. I think they were just limited by their offense.
Cohn was stable. That's what
Yeah.
I think Wisconsin needs at quarterback. Wisconsin didn't need a flashy quarterback, um, but then they thought they got their flashy quarterback, and clearly it's showing that it doesn't matter.
You want to know who else is on their quarterback depth chart that could probably take his place? There's a junior named Chase Wolf, a freshman, Deacon Hill, and then a senior, Danny Vandenboom. Um,
Chase Wolf, did he play a little bit last year?
I think he did.
Because that name sounds real familiar.
2020, correct?
Yes.
Played in 3 games, made his season debut versus Illinois on the 23rd. Went 4 for 5 for 15 yards and a touchdown. Um,
Was that the Illinois game that Illinois squeaked out the win,
yes,
like that field goal?
I believe so. Then he did, when Graham Mertz was out, he did play in his plays 4 for 5, 15 yards and a touchdown against Minnesota on the 19th. Then was 2 passes for 14 yards versus Wake Forest in the Duke's Mayo Bowl on the 30th. So he is technically a redshirt junior.
Hmm.
6'1", 200 pounds. Graham Mertz is 6'3", 227 pounds. Deacon Hill is 6'3", 248 pounds. And then Danny Vandenboom is 6'5", 207 pounds. So essentially, they're like 6'1" and above height quarterbacks with like 200 plus pounds to each of them.
Yeah, they're not. They need a quarterback that can produce. It doesn't matter your height and weight, man. Like
Yeah,
this is Wisconsin football.
but
Everyone
yeah.
was hopping on the merch train, and I'm kind of sitting here thinking, you know what? You guys are still pretty decent with Cone. I think you guys are gonna miss him the way you treated him.
Nope. And I'm just glad Jack Cohn got his revenge game, 41-13. Damn.
I'm not gonna lie, I was scared because it didn't look like it was gonna be that way.
Oh, Griffin.
Hmm.
Michigan barely beat Rutgers 20-13.
Yeah, didn't Michigan lose a receiver that game too?
Something like that, because this is so here was like the scoring like for all 4 quarters, right? Uh Rutgers 3, Michigan 7, second quarter. Michigan scores 13 points, but then in the second half, Michigan never scored. But Rutgers is only able to get 7 and 3 in the third and fourth quarters respectively, hence that close game of a score. And what's funny too, the lead rusher in that entire game was Isaiah Pacheco for Rutgers. Oh,
See, and that's the same dude we played against when we went out to Piscataway, and you could tell like these these players that Rutgers has, they needed the right coach because they are still good players.
yeah. Michigan State beat Nebraska 23-20.
That was funny. But honestly, credit to Nebraska because you have Oklahoma, which they played within one. They had one possession loss,
Yep.
and then they're playing against a ranked Michigan State, and they're still
Yep.
holding their own. They're still not winning, but they're still holding their own.
Yep. Yep.
And that's the only bright spot for Husker fans. Is their team is holding their own.
Correct. But
That's what they have to look forward to.
I think that's all I have. Like again, I didn't want to look at anything football related except for the Vikings beating the Seahawks last on Sunday. But yeah, looks like a very fun day for seeing the teams that our team hates, or our podcast team kind of hates. So it's fun.
And what's not fun is if Laurent was on this call and we were just shredding him about the Bears.
Or soup.
Oh, you know what? True. Forgot. Yep. Half the podcast would be chirping them and them getting going on another 10-minute side rant about fire Matt Nagy, but keep pace. You like pace. Oh, now they're going to Arlington Parks. Like, what is this? Oh my gosh. Then you have Lance Briggs tweeting about Nagy being Nagy. I was like, oh man, this is just funny to watch.
Oh man. Well, let's end the podcast here, Griffin. Anything else you want to cover?
I think we covered. I think we covered everything. I think I got my spicy take in about Mert. I think I'm all set. We can keep it under the time limit, unlike probably last week.
Yeah, we're under 40 minutes, which is awesome. So let's end it here. Well, for everyone listening into this episode of Opa Podcast today, thank you so much for listening to, the unfortunate loss that we had last week and previewing, I think, is a very fun matchup against Purdue. But we'll be signing out today. And again, we will not see you next week for the first week of October. It is a bye week, and we're all go take a break as well as a team. And then we'll see you again the following week. But again, I'm one of your hosts, Jason O.
And I'm your other one tonight, Griffin Most.
And we'll see y'all next time. Have a good night, everyone.